Thank you all for joining us on another episode of Rice Amongst Potatoes. Today we're going to talk about why we think it's harder for Asians to fit in. Do I deserve to play with these people? Mum, why the hell do I have to do this? They're not doing it. Why do I have to?
It is biased against us because of our nature. That's definitely true. I definitely agree with that. I think it just doesn't help but add to the narrative of
Asian geek.
Yeah.
I should have probably made more of an effort to try and integrate them and bring them into...
But you were a kid yourself.
It's true. Can't be too hard on myself.
You can't be too hard on yourself, I think.
On the surface, seem like they're okay, but actually they're feeling these things, which I never knew. I think a lot of people, especially kids nowadays, might do things and not actually know the consequence of it. And that's sort of why I'm sharing this story. Me and my best friend, we're best friends now from primary school. He'll know who he is. And the reason why we're best friends is because, first day of school, back then there weren't too many ethnic minorities. And we were the only two with black hair. And that's what we sort of held on to and formed a bond over. So something so simple, and it's got nothing to do with that person, but we're now best friends. My question is, if that's the case from when we're young and we form a bond because of this, is it harder for us Asians to fit in because everyone else might have blonde hair, but we have black hair?
It's a really interesting point. I think it's true. I think when I started secondary school, I hang out with all the Pakistani kids because I don't think I fitted in with all the white kids. And fortunately, all the Pakistani kids, they gave me a home to go to, and they welcomed me into their group and be like, that's fine, just come and join us. So at the start of my secondary school, when I was in the UK, that's kind of the group I also joined in. So I feel you, and I think I joined in with them because I looked more similar to them compared to the white kids.
I've only just told you that story.
Yeah.
And you're actually the same
it
as
happened.
me.
The same happened.
Honestly, there must be so many more people out there that are like that. So if you guys feel the same thing, please comment below. Is it just us two, or does that happen to you as well? I find that our cultures are more similar. And actually, as we have conversations and as we get to know each other, there's more in common, just maybe because of the family aspect.
I think so too. And I think it's sort of family beliefs as well. And the expectation on kids correlates across a lot of Asian families, no matter whereabouts in Asia you come from. Me and the friend group I was in, everyone worked really hard. Everyone's family sort of had a very similar background, not very well off, but enough to get by.
Yeah.
And all the kids worked really hard to get to where we were, and had that innate, almost family-led belief that you should work hard at school and you need to work hard at school.
I remember back in school, I go home, mum and dad, mum will always be like, make sure you do your homework, you have to finish your homework, then you can play. And then I'll go to school the next day, and then there'll be a lot of sort of white kids that haven't done their homework. And I'm like, Mum, why the hell do I have to do this? They're not doing it. Why do I have to?
Did they try to borrow your homework to copy?
Being Asian, I was probably too stingy to give them my homework.
We had that. We had can borrow your...
Oh, really?
Can borrow your math homework and just copy it. And
yeah, that's stereotypical.
And then it'd be like, yeah, but make sure you get some wrong, Anyway, I digress.
What we're trying to say is there is a unconscious bias as to who we make friends with. And even at a very young age, it's basically who looks the same. So I'm thinking, does this stick with us? And do we still have those same unconscious biases when we get into the corporate world?
I definitely agree with the point that from a young age, there is almost by nature, you want to congregate with people who look similar to you.
Yeah.
But I'd say sort of growing up afterwards, maybe that's sort of, you look beyond just people's appearance.
True. That's true. Actually, my best friend from secondary school is white. And actually, I'd say university, it's all spectrums of the color. But let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think you want to start with boarding school.
Yes. So I went to boarding school.
Mm.
You went to...
I went to state school,
state school.
state selective grammar school.
When I was young, I always wanted to fit in with the sporty kids, because I think the sporty kids tend to be what we see as like the popular kids, right? So you want to get in with them. I remember sort of one summer where like I went out, played a lot of sport, got into their gang, and was playing with them, was really happy. But at the back of my mind, I always thought, do you know what? Are these really my friends? Like, am I just here just to make up the teams? And I think like I felt an imposter syndrome, because do I deserve to play with these people? Because these people were like, you know, the A-team rugby captain, like first team football people. And I was like, you know, playing and hanging with these kids. And I think I felt a bit of imposter syndrome there. I don't know if you have similar experience.
No, I was rubbish at sports as a kid. Still now. So I never hang out with all the...
Okay, so here's a question. Asians tend to have a smaller build as they're growing up.
That's definitely true. I definitely agree with that. I think if you look at Asians who go to Olympics versus the average Asian who goes to Olympics, of course there is, you know, some exceptional specimens. But the average Asian Olympic athlete compared to the average Western Olympic athlete, I think the average Asian is going to be smaller. It is a very big generalization, but I think that's also the same at school, because in the age groups, when I was in year 7 doing rugby, I was in the smallest group. For sure, I was in the smallest group, so smallest 10, right? There's 20 groups, I'm in the smallest 10. Through secondary school, I was always one of the smallest. But then after I went to uni, I still grew. Like there were kids who stopped growing way before I carried on growing. And then I think a couple of years after started uni, just saw some friends and realized, wait, I'm no longer small anymore. And I am now in the average size. And that's because I grew...
Puberty's caught up.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's because I grew later than everyone else. So you can tell and it doesn't help, I'm one of the youngest in a year group as well. So you can tell actually it is biased against us because of our nature on average to be developing later than Western peers. Well, I don't know how you hang out with like the rugby captain and the staff football team, because I never did that, right?
I was fast.
Okay.
I did not like, I was small, but I was fast.
Okay, I was none of that. I was none of that. I was not good at sport at school, and I was always one of the small ones, and I think I had zero confidence coming out of school with regards to my sporting abilities.
Asian stereotype, right? Like, they're geeks, they're good at maths, they do their homework.
Yeah, that's me.
But I wonder, is it chicken and the egg, right? Is it because we're smaller at school, so we're not in the sort of sporting elite of the year, and hence why we maybe get left behind in sporting? So what do? We stick to what we're good at and what we're told as from a very young age. You know, do your homework, study hard, get good grades. And that's where the Asians are geeks stereotype comes from.
Potentially. And what else have we got going for us, right? I think that's the other part of it. If we are not outside running around and being good at sports, then you're going to be staying inside and reading books,
playing piano.
Okay,
I think that doesn't help with the
that's another stereotypical like Asian, right? Like you play the piano, you play.
Did you play piano?
I played the piano.
I played the piano.
I played the piano.
Again,
I was no good at it.
100% of this room, so
I was terrible at it. But somehow my sister's really good. My sister's great at piano, the violin. She sings in choirs. She's amazing. She's amazingly musically talented. And somehow, even though we have more or less the same genes, I have zero musical talent. I have zero sporting talent. Kind of.
Okay, I wouldn't say talent, but I could run. I had a lot of energy. I like playing sports. Mum tried to force me to do the piano, violin. She asked me to pick something else, so I picked trumpet, useless at that. And yeah, complete waste of time. But I did it because I was told to. And actually, there was a lot of time after school where I'd much rather been going out playing football, playing rugby with my friends, but actually I had a music lesson the next day, so I had to go and practice. So by sort of forcing or being forced into do something that wasn't natural to me or that I wanted to do, actually has that held me back in doing what I really love. Maybe I could have been a pro Olympic athlete, who knows?
Who knows? And just to add on the geeky bit, I was super geeky, right? Because after school clubs, so we had Thursday afternoon activities, TAA, and for that I did theatre lighting. So from year 10 to year 13, for 4 years within schools, I did theatre lighting. Outside of school, I worked in theatres over the summer, did help out with productions, and this went on to uni as well. So it was a big passion of mine. Musical theatre was a big passion of mine. I couldn't sing, but wanted to be involved. So doing lighting was actually something I did, and it just doesn't help but add to the narrative of
Asian geek.
Yeah.
If I met someone now and they said, "Oh, do you know what? I do like theatre productions in London's West End," I think that's the coolest job in the world.
I still think it's the coolest job in the world.
Like, how, like, that it's complete 360 from school where you work in a theatre doing lighting, you think, oh, I'm like the Asian geek, to now it's like so cool. I guess the people who have stuck with it and have done it kind of really know themselves, and like that's their passion, like that's what they do, and they really know themselves. And I think that's where sort of cool comes from now. I think from really knowing yourself. Let's go back to boarding school.
Go back to boarding school.
Boarding school. So I remember boarding school. The Chinese kids, they'll be from mainly Hong Kong, some from China, but because it's a boarding school, they're the people who would stay for the weekend. So they'll hang around together, play together. So obviously they'll form a tight bond.
And that's because you have day pupils.
Yeah, exactly. So the day people sort of tend to be local from the area, so they'll go home, and they're predominantly the white kids. So then Monday comes, and obviously because you spent all of weekend together, you see someone you've been playing football with for the last 2 days, you'd go sit with them for lunch. Then because you have sort of everyone else in the school there, it gives the perception that, you know what, these Asian kids, they don't want to integrate with the rest of the pupils.
Because you've made really good friends, you spent longer with them at school when no one else was around.
Exactly. I would see that and try to sit with my Western friends, just because I'm born here. So actually, like, my English is better than maybe someone who's come straight from Hong Kong or China. So I will sit with the white kids. But I can sort of see how difficult it is for someone that's come over, English maybe isn't their first language, to try and fit in. And I guess sort of me thinking back on it now, I should have probably made more of an effort to try and integrate them and bring them into...
But you were a kid yourself.
It's true. Can't be too hard on myself.
You can't be too hard on yourself. I think even now with colleagues that come to work that's from other countries and join the workforce, you can tell it really depends on their personality.
Yeah.
There's some really outgoing personalities where the language barrier is just not an issue for them. And whatever their language barrier, they'll get over it.
Yeah.
And you can believe that, and they'll be fine to fend for themselves, and they'll have difficulties, but they'll pick up the language because they're more open and comfortable in that environment. But you'll have some more introverted colleagues who I think will find it really hard. The language barrier for them is like a huge mountain.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult for them to climb.
Funny that I was speaking to someone today. He's Asian, and his English is like perfect. Like, you'd speak to him in the conversation, you wouldn't think, he hasn't been in England for like more than 10 years. But then it was really interesting because he told me that, like, do you know what, Vince, like sometimes if we go to, let's say, a pub or a loud environment, he finds it really difficult because he needs to concentrate more on like lip reading and understanding because it's a loud environment. So even for me now, actually, like filming these videos and talking to people, I'm learning things about people that I think I know really well, or that on the surface seem like they're okay, but actually they're feeling these things which I never knew. In fact, someone else that I spoke to today as well, and she's from India. She came over, I think, like 3 years ago, and then, like, completely different kind of situation conversation, but actually like the themes of fitting in to the society comes up all the time, and I think it affects a lot of people, which is why I guess we picked this as one of the first topics, because at the end of the day, fitting in, I feel, affects you at school, as we're talking about now, and I think that actually goes on to sort of your corporate life as well. And we'll discuss this a little later, but you know, at school, if you don't get along with someone, you just go home or walk away from them, and nothing happens. But in the corporate world, if you suddenly don't get along with your boss, or your colleagues form a little clique and you're left out of it, that's detrimental to your career progression, any future promotions, and potentially could be the glass ceiling.
It could be, and then you're faced with a choice: do you stay or do you go? And if you have the ability to go, actually that might be a blessing in disguise.
Anyway, we're going off topic again.
So back to school.
I have a confession to make. When I was young and dumb and I didn't know better, I did dish out passive racism as well, just to try and fit in with the cool kids. So there was a time where it was like five-a-side tournament inter-house. Everyone was at the five-a-side pitch, and I was with my friends and wanted to fit in, and one of my friends said, "Hey Vince, shout to this guy, go back to let's beat that out." So me wanting to fit in, didn't think anything of it, shouted at the top of my voice, and like nothing happened. But at the end of the match, that guy came to me and threatened me, saying, what the hell did you say, blah blah blah. And then at that time I was just playing cheeky and ran off it, and nothing happened. But I think it's only as I get older I realize, oh shit, I actually, as an ethnic minority, shouted go back to their home country to another ethnic minority just because this white person told me to, because I wanted to fit in. And I think that's probably one of it's one of my big regrets that I did that. I think a lot of people, especially kids nowadays, might do things and not actually know the consequence of it. And that's sort of why I'm sharing this story. I'm quite glad that I've realized that and have learned from it, just because I am an ethnic minority. But if, let's say, that white person who, Britain is all they know, shouted it, there was no consequence, and they wouldn't think it's anything because they are not an ethnic minority, would that exist?
And it's a really difficult conversation, because if we're going to look ourselves in the mirror, have I done something similar? I'll be honest, I don't remember, but that doesn't mean I haven't. And I'd rather not sit here and be a saint today, because I don't think I'm a saint. And I've probably been bullied, but also being a bully as well. And I don't think I am one anymore. So like you say, growing older gives them more empathy, so we can feel the feelings of others, not do the things we don't want to do, and we don't want to feel and make others feel that way.
Moral of the story to me is, look, no one is perfect. Everyone has made some mistakes and have maybe made someone feel like they don't belong, or alienated someone in some sort of way. No one's perfect. We're all growing up and learning our way. I guess we need to be more conscious about it now that we are older and that we know. And now that we have the technology to share, hopefully, if kids watch this, I don't know, maybe they're just looking at two old men, but kids
Hey,
watching,
one old man.
Maybe kids these days, if they do, and hopefully the power of social media, they can learn these lessons, hopefully in an easier way than we did.